Alright, so I'm leaving Shelburne this morning. I know I didn't really film anything last night, but when a man invites you into his house to stay for the night, just pulling the camera out, I don't know, etiquette wise, I don't think it's right. So anyway, John was a great guy. He did everything he said. You know, I had a nice place to sleep. He had beer on ice when I got there. We had steaks last night. It was really a great time. Hung out around the fire later on in the evening, and then I got a great night's sleep, and now I'm back on the road for what probably should be the final day of the trip, as long as everything goes okay. It's actually pretty decent out this morning. It's right around 60 degrees. It looks like everything's going to be good for most of the day, but as I get closer to home, there's about a 50% chance of scattered or isolated thunderstorms. So not real worried about it. Got the rain gear on. I'm ready to ride. So I am going to meet up with another subscriber on my way. By the way, huge thanks to John. I mean, that was awesome for him to do. So I don't want to be remiss in not recognizing that. That was really cool. So, but I am meeting up with another subscriber on my way home today. A guy named Rob. He lives in Grimsby. So we're going to meet there at the Tim Hortons, which is perfect because it'll be about time for me to eat a little bit of breakfast, and it'll be about the right time as I'm arriving there. So I've got about an hour and a half ride or so to get to Grimsby, and then I really haven't decided if I'm going to swing by Niagara or not. We'll see. I may just go straight on through Buffalo so I can start making my way back home. But like I always say, I have two goals on every trip. The first one is to have fun, and I've done that, and the second one is to arrive home safely. So made it to my destination, and I'm really close to making it back home, so I don't want to mess that up. So definitely the goal is to get home safe today. You know, I haven't faced much traffic, let alone traffic jams this trip, unless you want to count road construction where, you know, me and 10 other cars would be stopped. But looks like we're going to get into a little bit here this morning. Fortunately, I'm only on this road for about another little over 4 miles, so shouldn't slow me down too much, I wouldn't think. Alright, so I just hopped off the exit here in Grimsby. I've got, I don't know, I'm probably about 3 minutes away from the Tim Hortons right now, where I'm going to meet up with Rob, grab a little breakfast, probably go ahead and fill up the fuel tank before I leave. It won't be enough to get me all the way home, but it will be more than enough to get me back into the States. And then, whatever, I'll top it off at some point later today to get me the rest of the way back into the house. It's a pretty cool downtown area. Alright, it's about 9/10 of a mile down here on my right. Yeah, I'm probably not supposed to do that, but come on, guys. Alright, there's Monk's Ice Cream. There's Tim Hortons. There's a KTM, so I'm going to go up here and park right next to him. Normally I wouldn't park in someone else's spot, but I'm guessing this is the guy I'm meeting.
How are you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad.
I just said on my camera, I said normally I wouldn't park in somebody else's spot, but I'm guessing this is you,
yeah,
so.
That's it, so no problem. How's the trip down?
It's good. Little bit of traffic, but it didn't. You know, I always say I've got the best subscribers, and I don't say that lightly. You guys are great. I just met up with Rob back there. Rob rides a KTM 1290 Super Duke, probably my favorite street bike I've ever ridden. And, you know, we met up back here at Tim Hortons. He was nice enough to get me some breakfast this morning. We sat around, talked bikes. Rob and his wife are getting ready to take off on a pretty good trip here soon, and a lot of the locations I'd visited, so we talked about some of those. And yeah, I mean, it's just a great morning, and it was great meeting up with another subscriber. I mean, every single subscriber I've met up with to this point has just been, you know, an awesome person. So thank you guys that reached out to me, that were willing to meet up with me along the way. And those of you I wasn't able to hook up with, you know what? I don't think this is going to be my last trip to Canada, so we'll get it worked out next go around. Or if you're ever down in my area, don't be a stranger. I've got the GPS set up right now. It's got me getting home around 5 p.m. We'll see. It's got a different route program for me than what I'm actually going to take, so that may change a little bit, but I am going to let it map me to get back into the States, and then I've got my own route I'm going to take after that. So I'm going to top off the tank before I get out of town. Rob told me a spot where, you know, I can get fuel here before hopping back on the highway, and then I'm going to make a beeline for the border. So I'm rolling through Niagara Falls right now. I'm not actually going to stop at the park today. I've been up there twice before. Last time was probably about 4 years ago on a motorcycle trip. And as cool as it is, and I would like to see it from the Canadian side, fortunately for me, it's just a day ride up here. So I'll come back at a later date. Hopefully you can see a little bit of the skyline over there. Anyway, I'll come back at a later date. It's the last day of the trip. If you guys have ever taken a big motorcycle trip before, you know the last day you've got one thing on your mind, and that's get home. And that's the way I'm going to treat today. I've got some pretty cool roads planned, like I said, on the way home, so it'll make it fun. But when it comes to Niagara, I have a feeling I'll be back up here before too terribly long. So I have almost made it to the border. I'm probably less than 2 miles short right here. As usual, I'm going to have to kick the GoPro off as I go through customs, and see you guys on the other side. Alright, so a little bit of a wait to get through there, but once I got up there, it was like 2 questions and move on. So, welcome to New York. You know, Canada was great, Alaska was great, but there's just something about being back in the lower 48. Happy to be home. It's been, I guess it's been exactly 2 weeks since I was last in the lower 48 when I left Montana to head up into Alberta that day. So still have quite a few miles to get home. We got about 419, but I'm not paying much attention to the GPS from here on out. I'm going to hop on 219 here in just a little bit and have some fun on the way home. You know, I was talking earlier about how about 4 years ago we'd ridden up to Niagara on a motorcycle trip. And I'm coming through Ellicottville, New York right now, and it's all starting to come back to me right now. It was at about this point in the trip. I had Kristen on the back of the FJR at the time. My buddy Thad was on his Kawasaki, and my buddy Brad, he might have had the CBR 650 at the time. And we're coming through this town, and you'll see it's a neat little town as you come through here. But as we turned up here onto Jefferson Street, it was the worst smell, and it lasted for, oh, I don't know, every bit of 15-20 minutes. And then I realized there was a truck full of chicken shit up in front of us. So we did everything we could to run that truck down and get in front of it because we were gagging inside of our helmets. There was nothing you could do. It was just absolutely awful. And then once we got in front of the truck, everything was fine. But we were convinced it was the town there for a while until we saw that truck. It all just came back to me coming down through there. I just wanted to share that quick little story. service light just kicked on. No need to freak out. I'm just due for an oil change. I knew it was going to kick on at some point today. Obviously, I'm not going to stop in the middle of today's ride to change the oil. Probably head up to Ride on Moto tomorrow and go grab some oil and a filter so I can get it changed. But yeah, I guess I'm just going to deal with that service light the rest of the day. I could reset it, but whatever. I'm probably only stopping once or twice the rest of the way. So just a real short stretch of interstate there. It's the same as US 219. They're on I-86, I believe. We're a few miles away from Bradford, PA right now. I'm not actually going to stop in Bradford, but we did do a video about it, I don't know, probably a couple of years ago. That is the Zippo Factory. Is in Bradford, PA, and there's also a museum part to it. If you're ever up through this way, it's definitely worth checking out. And if you like Zippo lighters, they've got, I mean, actually a lot of them are available for purchase. The ones in the museum aren't, but they do have a showroom floor there with all kinds of stuff. Of course, I bought a Jack Daniels one while I was in there, and I think still works great. So. Alright, so fueled up the bike, and gas is a lot cheaper here in the States, and took a quick bathroom break. You know, you just know you're getting close to home when you see a Sheetz store. You got, I don't know how many of you know, like I have a love affair with Sheetz. Sheetz is my favorite fueling station, stop along the way, what have you. They've got good food, they've always got clean restrooms. Gas is usually best price in town, it's quality stuff. And an excellent selection of just snacks and beverages and stuff. So anyway, I actually knew this Sheetz was here. I've been through this town, oh, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 times at least. We're down to the final 200. Actually, it's going to be a little less than 237 miles because the way the GPS has me going is different than what I'm going to actually do. It's going to try to have me get on I-70 and then go hit I-81. I'm not doing any of that. When I get to Hancock, Maryland, I'm planning on hitting 522 south, and then I'm taking a back way up to the house just because it's a fun road. There's hardly any traffic, and it's just the way I want to end my trip. I don't want to be going down interstates or through town or anything like that. So anyway, yeah, it's the final stretch. We got right about 4 hours until I'll be arriving back at Bunker Hill. So I've got another little stretch of interstate here. I think it's about 26 miles total, and I'm a little past halfway through it. And I'm seeing some clouds ahead. Looks like, doesn't look too promising unless you're looking for rain, and then it looks very promising. Like I said, I knew there was a chance of some isolated showers, thunderstorms and stuff on the way home. No big deal, but we'll see. I think I just felt a couple of drops on my face shield there. We'll see what it turns into. I've got all rain gear on with the exception of my gloves. Oh, did you guys see that? Highest point east of the Mississippi, which isn't very high, honestly. But anyway, I was saying I got everything on except my waterproof gloves. They're actually in the tail pack behind me, but I don't know. If I have the opportunity to pull over, I may put them on if rain looks imminent. Otherwise, even though these get wet, they dry out really fast. And the temperature's not bad. We're sitting at about 68, 69 degrees, so it's not like my hands are going to get cold or anything. It has started to sprinkle just a little bit. I've got about a mile to go before I make a hard left down here, but I just wanted to point out at this intersection down here, there's a place called, I think it's called Gio's. They sell barbecue. And it's, I don't know, part gas station, part restaurant. It's a really cool little place, and if you're ever through this part of PA, right off 80 there, definitely check this place out. Food's excellent. I will not be stopping in today, but probably next time through I'll stop and get a little something to eat there. So it's right off, if you're on 320 322. It's right off 322 at the end of 970. But if you're traveling on 80, if you're traveling 80 west, hop off and hang a left on 970 there, and that's the place I was talking about right there. Prices were really good, food's excellent, definitely one of those cool spots worth checking out if you like barbecue. We haven't really hit a whole lot of rain, mostly just a lot of mist and fog. The road is wet right now. Visibility kind of sucks. I mean, I've seen worse, or maybe I haven't seen as well. I don't know, however the hell you want to say that. Alright, so we are crossing over the Potomac River, and what's on the other side? West by God, Virginia. I'm taking a different route back. Like I said earlier, I'm going to take 522. I will cross back into Virginia for a little while, and then I live right on the border, and when I say right on the border, like a mile into the state of West Virginia. So I'll ride in West Virginia here for a little bit, and then I'll ride in Virginia for a little bit, and then hopefully I'll be home. You know, the weather wasn't perfect today, but it's tough to complain when I probably only got rained on maybe 30 miles of the 9,000 plus we covered. And we've got some dry and wet patches here on the road, but we've got good enough traction. And be able to end this trip riding this stretch of road, well, for me it just doesn't get much better. Well, and just like that, I'm right back where I started. What a hell of a ride. Oh yeah, one more thing. I was kind of holding out on you guys. You didn't really think I'd go through Toronto without getting the Toronto mug.